Everyone, this is Elena, and I'm back today with another card for you. This beautiful color layering seahorse one. It's more of a masculine card, so let's get started. I'm gonna stamp all of the elements first, and because I'm using the MISTI, I'm gonna stamp a bunch of those for future use. So, in order, this was a card I made for a blog named Hero. And the challenge was masculine, so I'm trying to keep the colors masculine. So I'm gonna be using blue tones, like more so like pool tones. I'm using soft pool ink pad to stamp the seahorse, the first layer. So I'm first stamping on this scrap piece of cardstock, and then I'm layering, kind of positioning the negative on top of it so it's centered and it's nice to create this little slot to slide in the die cuts for the seahorse. So secure that, and next I'm positioning the die cut inside, make sure it's secure, it doesn't move. Then I'm gonna stamp using the soft pull Hero Arts shadow ink. So I have that one. So I'll show you a couple, and then I'm just gonna speed it up. So because I'm stamping about 10 or 11 of those. And usually when I'm using the MISTI, I stamp a bunch of those for a bunch of images for future use when I don't have time to make a card. And I'm gonna make another video showing you some organizational tools or some things that can speed up your crafting process. Like how I organize my inks and different color combinations and different inspirations, how I label my ink pads, so on and so on. So keep an eye for that video, probably sometime next week or maybe after that. So it's just in the process, and it's work in process. So I'm just, as I said, I'm stamping all these seahorses. And I have few left. So this one didn't stamp very well, so I'm just repeating the process and stamping on top of it. So that's another advantage of the MISTI tool. So next I'm positioning the second step, the second stamp from this color layering seahorse, and then picking up with the lid, and then I'm using the Pool mid-tone shadow ink for the second step. And I'm just gonna stamp on my scrap piece of cardstock. I'm not, you'll notice I didn't remove the mask, so I'm just, so when it's not like shifted a little bit, so it just stays in the same place. So we have perfect stamping of the second layer. So that's one of them. So it came out pretty nice. Next I'm positioning the second one. And so on. So I'll repeat the same for all of the seahorses. And next I'll move to the third step. So I'm positioning the third step layer of this seahorse, and then picking up with the lid, and then I'm gonna use Deep Ocean hybrid ink pad from Hero Arts to stamp this last layer. Those are darker ink pads, so it kind of creates very nice effect. So, and next I'm positioning in that slot that was perfectly layered, so I'm positioning one of the seahorses, and then I'm gonna stamp on top of it. So there is the cute little seahorse. Then I'm gonna repeat the same step for all of the seahorses, and this will be the last step for the seahorses, and next we're gonna move to the shells, to stamping the shells. So I'm not gonna show you stamping all of those 10, so you get the idea. Next I'm positioning the shell, kind of positioning that slot, and then I'm removing the mask, and I'm stamping with soft brown Hero Arts shadow ink. So on top of that shell, I'm positioning the mask, the negative from the die cut, like I did the same thing for the seahorse. And then I'm gonna stamp all of the shells. So I'm again gonna stamp with the same ink pad. So I'm positioning my shell in that slot there, and that came out nice. So next I'm doing the second one. I'm gonna repeat for every single one. So okay, next I'll do the second step, and I'm positioning that second stamp on top of it, and then I'm gonna use Hero Arts Capo Joe shadow ink to stamp that second step. So I think that came out nicely, so it's perfectly positioned there, and I'm gonna start stamping the shells that I previously stamped. So just positioning again that in the slot and stamping on top of it, and then I'm doing the second one. So there's a little spot that didn't get inked well or stamped well, so I'm repeating that. Next I'll do the smaller shell, and I'm pretty much repeating the same process. So I'm again using the same ink pads, the soft brown and Capo Joe for the second step, and then I'll do a third step with this one with white craft ink. I'll show you in a little bit. So, and I'm gonna position the mask, and since those are like small, I tend to put like 3 magnets around, so that keeps in place. So I'm positioning that one in, and then I'm gonna stamp with the soft brown. So I'm doing the second one now. Because those are so tiny, I need to use my pickup tool to take out the die cuts from the slot. So next I'm doing the second step, and I'm using Capo Joe ink to ink that one. So then I restamp it because it didn't stamp completely. And next I'm gonna stamp directly onto the die cuts. So we have one done here. We're gonna repeat the process for the second one. So next I'll use, I'm not gonna move that stamp from there. I'm putting the stamped, already stamped shells, and then I'm gonna restamp that second layer with white ink. White pigment ink, unicorn from Hero Arts. And you will notice that this softens that brown color, and you get lighter shade and kind of different effect. So here's a comparison as looks with the white ink and just with the Capo Joe. So, and then I'm gonna continue doing that with the rest of my shells. So next we have everything stamped and ready to go. So see how many elements I have, so I don't need to worry if I need 1, 3, or 5 for my card. So I'm gonna use whatever I want, like whatever I think that it's good for the card, and then keep the rest, put them in a little bag, and keep them for a future card. So I'm using, I have already cut the layers for my card, the card base, and I'm using some Simon Says stamp cardstock from their rainbow kit, and next I'll stamp and emboss the sentiment, wishing you oceans of joy. So I'm stamping with Versamark ink, and first I ran that powder tool over my card, and then I'm going to use white embossing powder from Hero Arts to cover that, and then heat emboss. So, and I'm just going with my paintbrush to remove the extra embossing powder, and I'm just gonna put this down and heat emboss it with my heat tool. So that's it. So next I'm ready to layer my card, and I'm gonna use the MISTI tool, and actually I'm running here with my Swiffer cloth to remove extra dust from the powder tool. So next I'm using my MISTI to position my card base inside, so I have everything lined up perfectly, so that edge is perfect for lining up your layers on the card. So I have that one, and then I'm turning it around and using some dimensionals. I'll adhere that second layer, like the little wave that's darker color. And again, I'm gonna slide it towards the right corner, like right about the corner of the MISTI, so it's lined up nicely. So next I'm gonna just position the elements where I want them to be. So there we have that, and then I'm using some dimensionals to adhere everything, and whatever goes on top of that darker cardstock, I'm just gonna use regular adhesive, not adhesive dimensionals, because it's kind of, that layer is already popped up on dimensionals. I'm doing the same for the shell. It's half with dimensional, half with regular adhesive. I'm gonna slide that little shell in behind. So there we have that, and then I decided to add additional shells hiding behind that wave to add extra interest to the card. So there's one, and that one would go there. Okay, now we are pretty much done, and to add some more interest, I'm adhering some sequins for little bubbles for under the sea, and that finishes up my card. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and see you soon in another video. Bye!